Hey, good morning, everybody. Starting out here at 8:30. Like I've always say, quick disclaimer for TikTok. If you're leaving comments, I won't see them until after. This will go about 30 minutes, like usual. Maybe sooner. We'll see how it goes. When it comes to um, TA, like I always talk about, it is going to be very dependent on news, right? So you can have the best of TA out there. If the news doesn't support what your TA shows, news is going to always win. So we did have the earning reports that were supposed to drop here. I think at 8:30. So um, as we're going through, we'll kind of. I'm not going to go through the reports, but we'll go through the TA and we'll just kind of see how the market reacts. But let's start out yesterday, kind of how we played that. So the market opened about right here or so. All this was after hours. So right when we opened, pretty much got a long like right before we opened on a long call, which played out perfectly. Many people in the room weren't really sure about taking longs because this red line was honestly, it should have acted as some pretty serious resistance. And I tell you, the strength that the SPY has right now is just pretty wild. Because if you look at it, I mean, slightly off, right? But I was kind of gauging on this right here. So this, um, to me, would have acted as some pretty good resistance. Now, it did act as resistance, which we did take a put off of to earn some money. You can see right here, right? It hit the wick and it had just a great put setup. This short call came in, but it came in a little bit late. So we were already in this put, off of the red line there. There were some puts that were taken here because we did get, kind of like a triple touch off of some trend lines. I always leave the trend line here just to kind of show you what we're looking at and how we play them. So you can see we did get initial rejections. So these were great put plays here. You had kind of like a little mini head and shoulder that played out great there. We were following this kind of rising wedge, right? What concerned me about this rising wedge playing out was not only one, we got a long call right off of the resistance line, but you guys all know when we talk about TA, whether it's a pattern, trend line, support, resistance, whatever, the breakout's not the big one, it's the retest. And you can see we acted as resistance all the way up here on this yellow line. This was acting as resistance as well. We broke above it, and what did we do? We retested both of them as support, right? And so it does not shock me that this came next, because now we've created a new higher level of support. So as that comes up here, we got up to about 450.38 and then rejected. So I had another yellow line here at 450. This one was off of this peak here that I was playing it off of. Y'all have to remember, there's really no upper trend line to follow. So all we can really go off is these upper peaks that it's rejected off before. So the next level I would say would be off of this peak here that I would play. Couple areas that acted as support. This is a wick, right, down, up and down, right, as resistance. So that would probably be where I would mark that next. These three lines are going to be huge because if we can't hold these at any time it breaks down below these, then that's when they're going to lose hope and we'll come back down. So that's kind of how I'm playing that now. As far as today goes, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's Friday. I probably won't trade a whole lot. If I see a setup for a put, I might take that. But other than that, I'm not gonna trade a whole lot. If it wants to just run today, I'll just let it run, and Monday we'll ride it back down. But you can see here, as it collapsed here, it found support at a higher low, came up, support again, and then support off the 200 EMA, which causes it to do that overnight. So let's take a look at the 1 hour on the SPY. So again, we're just extremely oversold. We do have bearish divergence with the lower highs way up top here. So a pullback's pretty inevitable. It's just whether it's going to happen today or not is really going to depend on how the market reacts to the earning reports. So we'll see how that plays out. But from a technical standpoint, we need some kind of cool off, right? So and if that's pulling back down to this 448.95 and then getting a bounce, but if we break this 21 SMA, then we have these gap fills that still have to be filled, right? So we could see that fall continue all the way down as low as 441. I just don't know if that's going to happen today. It just depends on what the news supports. So just kind of play that range. If you want to take calls up here, my suggestion is wait, and catch it on a pullback. That are new and don't understand what I mean by that. Let's see. Let's go. TradingView is taking its time there. So let's say I missed this run up, right? You don't want to buy it here. Don't buy it after this, right? You want to wait. Okay, let me find the pullback, right? All this red, boom, we have some support. We broke the EMA again, right? Now you can consider going call, or wait for a support, right? Off of 200 EMA, consider going call. You just don't want to chase this. This is how you end up with the peaks, right? If I'm already missing this, I'm thinking put. I'm thinking put from a scalp perspective, right? And there's plenty of scalps, you can do on an uptrend, right? If you capture these peaks, these are still really, really great scalps that you can do. So that's what I mean by that. So like I said, my plan today is Friday. With the reports coming out and all that, if I see a short call up here from my indicator, right now it's in a long, but if I see a short call come up, I'll probably take it. If I do, it'll probably be a maybe 5 or 7 day contract, just so I have some time to play it. So let's go ahead and see. We're getting a little bit of bearishness popping up from our indicators now. So let's talk about the tech stocks briefly. We have Apple. So we drew this I don't know, Tuesday or Monday. And it seems to be holding. The line is slightly off, right? But it's every time it tries to hold it, it can't, right? It just keeps breaking down. We do have, kind of a little bit of a shoulder possibly forming. So I would look for Apple to come down to maybe 189.15. If it hits this and holds support into this squeeze, then it's likely to pop north. So I would just keep an eye on that range. But as of right now, we're pretty high in the range, so it's not really safe to take a call quite yet. I would wait for a call entry off of the 200 EMA on the 1 hour, or I would wait for it to break this trend line and actually act as support. So you can see here, you have support, but there's no confirmation, right? You have some support, but there's no confirmation candles that are showing that, yes, it is support. And that's why you're not getting those big explosion candles north. So Microsoft. So Microsoft, y'all know how I trade. Look where it's at. It's at the peak, right? So even on our last, big run up that we had, right? This was the peak that it hit. So far, it's got a lower high. I would be thinking put on Microsoft for the short term, just because we are oversold here on the 1 hour, and we are acting as resistance here on this upper level too. So for me, if you want to be a bull and you don't really want to take a put, right, then you want to wait for a retest of the 21 SMA, somewhere around 343 or so. Or you have the 200 EMA, right, that eventually could break as well. So, but we do have some gap fills showing up that possibly need to play out here. So, but again, the news is gonna dictate where that goes. So, this is what we had for Amazon. You can see we were kind of following this channel. It wasn't the prettiest of channels. It was really just these peaks here, and then we just had these two there. But the interesting thing is we still broke it, and it's trying to act as support, right? So the thing I would look for on Amazon is this 21 SMA, which is at like 133.68. If it continues to hold here and you get a bullish candle confirmation, RSI starts pointing up, right, then you can likely ride that on a call up to about 136, where Zone Tracker says it'll reject again. And you can take, additional lines, like I just drew that small one, right? But this is another one that I would probably draw, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4 rejections. So if we do find support, this is where I would take that put from that. But the gap fill is calling bearish on the 1 hour, meaning that it's been too parabolic for too long. So it needs some kind of pullback. So might end up in like a double top type situation, right, where it pushes up a little bit, like this, and then can't break this level and comes back down, and then that would bring it back down. So those would be the plays on Amazon. Google. So Google, if y'all remember, I was kind of following this kind of rounded top here. We had a potential handle for an inverted cup and handle, but we talked about this key support area, and we said if we cannot break this neckline, right, that's going to be extremely bullish because it will now invalidate what that is, right? And so it could not break it. We did get a kind of a stop loss hunt wick right here. You can see this wick, right? So anybody who was going long likely set their stop losses down in here and probably got wicked out. But you can see, you know, like we talked about, right? The moment we wicked out, right, started to get some strength. It tried to break the 200, couldn't do it. The moment it closed above the 200 right here, right, it came up through, and bam, people believed, okay, we're going up, and there was just an explosion on that. So temporarily, though, we are having a little bearish divergence on the 1 hour, and we did just flip red. So and keep in mind, right, if you take this level here, what that it rejected off of, it's literally the same point that it's rejected off of so many other times. So I would not take a call on Google right now. If anything, I'd be waiting for that put entry. Did I do Amazon? Yeah, we did Amazon. All right, let's just go into the next one. Let's go Tesla. So Tesla, this was what I talked about. I think I drew this yesterday, a potential bull flag here. So far that played out. We went down. We did get kind of the double bottom off the 200 EMA. It came up, rejected off that line. It hit the squeeze. Now we broke it. Now it's retesting. So the interesting thing about Tesla is if you mark the level right about here, 279.58, that's going to be a huge level to break because we still have some room on the 1 hour for the RSI to go up, right? And if you look at this level, this is where we rejected here. We tried to hold it many times, rejected, and back down again. So let's see if this flag likely is going to try to go push up. Probably have a pullback here. Let's see if it retests it, and if it gains support, right, the explosion north should be pretty wild, like probably maybe 287 or so is where I would look for that. And then, you know, anything up in this range, I would definitely take that put. Now, if this collapses this line here, right, which you know, has acted as really good resistance in through here, and it breaks this SMA, then it's likely to pull back. So if you want to wait for a call entry, I wouldn't take it right now because you're up near resistance. I would wait for that pullback. Either I would want to see it retest this trend line, or at least retest this 200 EMA before I'd enter that call. Otherwise, I'm probably waiting for that put entry. So yeah, that should be Tesla should be a pretty interesting one. Meta has just been on a tear. You know, if you look at the daily, I mean, Meta has not been able to break this 21 SMA since like February. I mean, it just continues to just push north on it. And so you can see we even drew this like kind of weaker trend line, right? Even if you pull it up a little bit to capture those weeks or wicks, it just broke through it like it was nothing. But however, on the daily, right, we do have a doji, and we are bleeding. So watch this doji on the daily. If we do engulf this doji wick here, right, then it's going to have that downside. Downside would be, I would say, somewhere around 290, 289 to retest this 200 EMA on the daily, just like it's done so many times. Let's check the 1 hour. So the 1 hour's got red on our divergence hunter. We did break this SMA in the 1 hour, so yeah, I would suspect that Meta is going to have some pullback. Probably 295 or so would be a good retest for Meta. I'm just looking here. It could find, if it's wanting to stay bullish and the news is pretty bullish, you could probably draw a trend line like that. This could be where you get your first bounce, right? That would continue it up pretty bullish that way. So if you break this trend line, then it's almost certain that it's coming down here, so you can take that put safely. I don't really get a lot of requests to the other ones, so I'm not gonna do those because I do want to get to the crypto. Um, sorry, let's go to the dollar. So you can see on the dollar, I was out here on the daily just kind of looking at it. I mean, the dollar's obviously been bleeding, right? And you know, you kind of got this downtrend that it's been riding. We were following this potential descending triangle. We actually broke it yesterday with some of the news, and so the interesting thing about the dollar though is don't, from a scalping standpoint, don't count it out quite yet because you have our gap fill showing on the daily that we did break out, and we do have our white fractals. Um, and you know, we are showing that we are definitely oversold on here in a green area, right? So some support at some point here is gonna, it's gonna come through for the dollar. Yeah. Um, but I mean, it definitely, if you look here, this is a prior resistance level, prior support level, right? So this is why everybody's calling $97 because this is a prior support level here. Typically, you're going to get a bounce also around the prior resistance level. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that right now. So we'll monitor that one. I'm going to delete these inner lines here. Yeah, so we'll probably find some support, but it definitely could come down a little bit further before it gets that support, but pretty close. You can see on the 1 hour we are breaking above the SMA, which typically that's going to, and we did flip blue here, and we do have the bullish gap fill. So we could a pretty interesting push on the dollar to retest this 100.82 range, or as high as 101.56. If it happens to get up to the 101.56, I don't suspect that's going to hold or break it without some news to support that. Bitcoin. Bitcoin has pretty much done mostly what we had talked about. So yesterday, you know, really since Monday, we've been talking about how it had this push. It's had this consolidation here between 31.4, 31, you know, 5 or so, and then 29.8, 29.9. So for a push up like this, it doesn't surprise me. If you look at it, we actually, this was the white line that we took. I think it goes further back, yeah, to this wick right here. So we had a 3-point resistance line, and so far that's held, right? I mean, you can see this was, I had mentioned, y'all can go back and watch, I think Wednesday or Thursdays, I think Wednesdays, that, you know, if we do break above here and it explodes north, right, that this would be a great put area, and you can, or I always mix my options in crypto. Short area, so that short actually played out well. You could actually have entered the short almost instantly, came up and entered it again, right? So that definitely is a big play. Now where we're gonna go from here, you got to look at the 1 hour. We did break below the SMA here, and so it is acting as resistance right now. So if it cannot hold this level, continues to act as resistance, then I would see a pullback as low as maybe 30,600 to retest this 200 EMA. We are kind of purple on our gap fill, and there's just tons and tons of resistance here. For the bullishness, like I mentioned before, if, however, we can get news that supports it and we explode north, to you know, test the 31,900 or so range, and then we do come down to 31.5 and we test that as support and it holds a little bit, like I said, we can get as high as 33,166 or so, right? But it's got to break this line. It just has to, otherwise we're just, you know, continuing to just basically range. So our 1 hour divergence center is still red. It hasn't flipped green, so I wouldn't have that go time yet to take that long. So because as of right now, I mean, you can see here where it crossed the 21 SMA, came through, couldn't break it, right, and it just collapsed. Even here where it tried to break it in the news event and then just collapsed again. So for the most part, we're still just ranging there. So I would take, you know, any kind of shorts around 31.5. I would take, you know, longs anywhere around 30,500 or so, somewhere in here. Would be what I would look for on Bitcoin. So let's talk about ETH. So ETH is a different story. Interesting. See, it did reject here on Monday. We pulled back. We talked about kind of a, you know, a little bit of a bearishness popping up here, more so on ETH, but ETH actually had an explosion, right? When we had the XRP news, pretty much all the alts shot forward. Again, news and volume, right? Now, ETH is in a different position to me than Bitcoin, because it did blow past these trend lines that we were following, which some of these went back pretty far, right? You can see, only a two peak here. You had this one here with the two peak as well. So those were the ranges we were playing. But if you take a line right about here, you can see this was heavy resistance, and so far it's acting as heavy resistance, which is around 2020 or 2019. So I would suspect that ETH is likely going to pull back and try to retest these as support. If it holds as support, right, it's coming right back up. So you can take longs on confirmed bullish candles anywhere off of here. But however, keep in mind, it on the 1 hour, it is below the SMA, and so as long as it stays below this SMA, it's going to try to ping pong between the EMA, which is 1903. And we are headed down from being overbought. So just be careful. Like I said, play your guys' range, and you'll be all right. So let's talk about the ATA. So how we played that. So as y'all know, we are still stuck in this put here where it got caught in the news event right here. And so the cool thing about options I wanted to talk about is I was going through the room, is although that contract's getting beat up, right, we are able to open multiple put contracts. So we did open some additional put contracts. It took 3 total trades. It's in one right now, but it still has a DCA level, and it's a 4-day contract, so we have time. So we'll see how that goes. The DCA level is like 450.65. So if the market opens and pushes north like that, it will find its DCA before it pulls back down. So the calls, it took 2 calls here, and both of them ended up in profit. Currently, let me look and see here. Yeah, I have the calls paused. I'm going to unpause those. I'm going to keep the setting the same. So let's see. This is the settings. I'm still going to do a 4-day. That way it will give us time if we do get stuck for the weekend. If something is stuck pretty well, I might let it roll through the weekend. But if anything's kind of close, I might just kill them at the end of the day and just be done with it, right? So, yeah, so this is the settings that I'm going to run on that. That's the strike price. And then we'll keep the DCA the same. So, and then I do have a 1% stop loss on that. So if anything goes parabolic on us. So that's the call. The puts, I'm going to continue to let that play. Same thing. We'll do 4-day contracts if it gets out of the one that it's in now. DCA range is the same, and we do have a 1% stop loss on that. So we'll let this roll. If we do continue to climb up, just so y'all know, I may activate additional puts. You can add as many indicators as you want. And so the concept of that is, if you get something stuck and you want to let it ride out, right, that contract value is your only risk, your only loss. If it parabolic moves up, right, and the odds of you coming down that far anytime soon, we can activate another ATA to take puts up at that level to actually ride it down. So if it takes a long time to get down, or if it ranges in that range, then now you're earning back to kind of compensate for some of that loss. So that's a little bit of the strategies that we use. So that's kind of the play we're going to do today. I will be running calls and puts. I'm still going to run the same thing, range filter, and then parabolic SARS on the calls. So as far as the contract that's open today, those of you that are in that, I put out, I can't remember when we got stuck in that one. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. At the end of the day, I'd put out something on the trading floor that said, we are coming into news, right? And so the news is projected to be bullish. So with the copy trade, I'm allowing it to kind of work its way out the best it can. But my advice was to close that trade if you wanted to reset that. So if you did close that trade, the beauty is we're running multiple put ranges, right? So you're picking up the new puts. If you decided not to close that trade and you just let it ride, right, that's the risks that we take. So we'll just see how today plays. One way or another, the contract has to close today. So we'll just we're gonna leave the range filter to be aggressive, and we'll try to take as many wins as we can today to offset that. So, but that's all I have, guys. So if you want to come in and trade with us today, I'm going to open the room today. It is Friday, so I'll probably only leave it open until about maybe 11. And then maybe if I see an opportunity, we'll take it. But other than that, we'll just kind of sit tight. Fridays is not the best time to get stuck into stuff. So just take your scalps, keep them tight. The pressure's been north, right? So it's definitely been north. But no matter how much this pressure is north, when you really zoom out, I always tell everybody, when in doubt, zoom out, right? And I'm gonna leave this because it's a blank chart. These are not sustainable as much as we want it to be. It's just not sustainable. You can see here, if you take a look at this, right, and you're like this, everybody in the world right here was like, we're going to all-time highs, we're going to the moon, right? And then that came, and we actually fell down and created a lower low all the way down to 350. So yes, you have bull run size like this, but even in bull runs, right? When you look at the bull run here, you still had your push-ups, you had your pullbacks, right? There's plenty of pullbacks. I mean, these look small on the daily, but 393 to 370, I mean, those are big pullbacks, right? Not quite as monstrous as this, right? But you got to think about I was talking to yesterday, is where we are in the range. If you wanted to be heavy call, this was the time to do that. If you want to be heavy call up here, even when the economy was at its best, right? The high was 479, right? And we're sitting at 450. Even in the bull market, right? We had a 450, what was it, 454 or so. It ended up crashing all the way down to 426. So even in our bull market, so before it pushed up again. And then, like I said, look at here from the peak at 480 or so, it dropped all the way back down to 420. So just be very careful taking your calls up here. If you want to stay put, like some of us are, there's plenty of scalp opportunities, right? You just have to be patient for the setup. And at this upper range here, once we do get our descent down like this, right? You're gonna catch some really big trades. So, but you definitely got to be patient with it. You don't want to rush anything. So, but that's kind of the play. So I'm gonna leave these on here. Let's go back to the 1 minute, and let's reset it. There we go. So if you're in the community, we'll talk more about it when we get in the room. I appreciate y'all's time, and if I don't talk to you again, have a great weekend. And we'll be back at it Monday.